Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to another episode of Mindset Monday. So today what I wanted to get into, well, first of all, as you can see, I'm back in the truck. Glad to have you guys here. It's technically only a 3-seater, but at this rate, there's, at the bare minimum, 20 to 50 of you sitting in the truck right now. That's ridiculous. It's kind of stupid, but yeah. What I wanted to talk about is the idea of smart training, because a lot of people have a tendency to do some really ridiculous training. Now, what do I mean by smart training? Smart training means having a clear-cut goal that you're shooting for and a defined direction or path to get to that goal. Not just slogging it out like crazy. You're trying to kill yourself to get to your weight loss or fitness goal. The reason why this is important is for one very specific word: sustainability. You need to be able to do it over the long run. And if you can't do something over the long run, because it only really works after 2 weeks, and then you have to go and cycle into something else every single time, or because you're burned out, then it's not exactly helpful. Of course, the greatest goal here, or what once was the greater goal here, was achieving a certain level of fitness. And I want you to understand that from this point, from now on, that fitness is not a marker for health. I know, shocking. But if we're to look at professional athletes, guys who are in the National Football League, for example, or even guys who play basketball, which I guess isn't too high impact, they may be the greatest picture of fitness, but it's not to say that they are absolute phenomenal. The reason why this is because their training puts their bodies through the ringer. Granted, genetically, they are a little bit more gifted than we are, but all that they're doing is burning through that genetic storehouse of awesomeness and using it up far faster than their normal lifespan would usually allow. You may have noticed that a lot of athletes, once they stop training, once they get out, often put on a lot of weight, or you may even hear that a couple of them get sick. Case in point, the very famous, or rather infamous, Lance Armstrong, for example. There are a couple of other celebrity athletes who find themselves in a situation where they get terribly sick. In Lance's case, he had cancer. Now, this cancer isn't just some coincidence, and yes, it was an amazing tragedy of sorts that he conquered, which is kind of bittersweet now that we know the true story. But anyways, at the time, it just added to his majesty and his appeal. The reason why this is because when you're running your body that hard, that long, you're going to run into trouble. Our bodies, just like machines, do wear down at some point. Now, we've got different names for when these things happen. Call it cardiovascular disease, diabetes, obesity, and even more extreme is cancer, just as in Lance's case. Cancer is basically uncontrolled growth of cells, and this is actually a normal process gone completely wrong. Not every one of us is actually going to get cancer. We may get issues with our joints, problems with our bones, or other autoimmune conditions that may present with neurological issues. Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, those sorts of things. The whole point of training is to live as long with as much quality as possible. So running yourself ragged 5 days, 6 days out of the week, for 3 to 4 hours every single day is not sustainable, and it's not in any way beneficial to your life. The way you want to go about it is you want to have some sort of a performance goal. If you already partake in certain hobbies, say for example you're a sprinter, or you're a climber, or you're aiming to go and join a particular competition, even better. If you're a sprinter, a climber, you're into MMA, you want to go on a long hike through the Appalachian, something like that. Now you have something to aim for. By having a specific performance goal, you know what your body is going to need to do in order to reach it. If you're a hiker, obviously you need to understand that I've carried 30, 40, 50, maybe even 60 pounds of gear over a certain amount of miles. I need to make sure that I not only have the strength to carry that weight, but I also have the endurance to tie into that. If you just casually play football on the weekends, you need to understand what the demands are of that sport. Obviously, you need to move fast. Obviously, you need to be able to do that while carrying your weight, and at certain occasions, pushing the weight of another person who is trying to block you. You also need to be able to quickly pick up speed, switch directions, and stop rapidly. So your body needs to be able to withstand those demands. Now, if you're just a golfer, you do still need to take certain things into consideration. It may not be as demanding or as intense as all these other activities. And granted, it is very leisurely. But you also need to know what's demanded of your body. Now, if you're a golfer, it's not necessarily the most high-impact sport, but you still need to understand body mechanics. And to a certain degree, it's like a discus thrower. Your body has to twist in order to drive that ball wherever you need it to go. So you need to train that. Once again, you have to have some understanding of what that's going to take. And this generally means being able to consistently deliver the same performance over 18 holes. And that's not just 18 times. It may be 36 times, depending on how many shots you have to take per hole. So these things through. Now, you're probably wondering, okay, so I'm great at golf. I can crush a 50-yard dash like a madman, and I can hike with a 50-pound ruck on my back. What about my looks? That's just the beauty of it. If you really pay attention to the performance aspect of your goals, you're going to understand that in order to get to those points, generally, you need to minimize the amount of pain, inflammation, swelling, stress that your body is experiencing. Which means you have to eat cleanly and optimally, train smart, and make sure you're at ease to improve as quickly as possible. Most of these ideas and modalities come from those high-level sports. Honestly, a ton of them come from the weightlifting and bodybuilding scene, because those guys are always trying to eke out the last ounce performance that they can get in order to lift the next 5 pounds, the next 10 pounds, the next 15 pounds. And you can't do that under those conditions by screwing around with your health. So, pay attention. Anyways, I hope that was very enlightening for you guys. All 20 or 50 of you sitting in my truck right now. But I've got to pay attention to the road. As always, I'd love to hear your comments, questions, concerns, and thoughts. So write those down at the bottom. Give me a thumbs up. Number 2, write down what I should do or what your questions are regarding this video at the bottom, so I can at least address your issues. And of course, if you like this stuff and you want to know when the next video comes out, please hit the subscribe button below, or they should be once up here somewhere, so you can subscribe to my channel. Once again, this is Mark for My Primal Being. As always, have fun, be safe, and peace out. Here's my grand view of the I-5 South. Not as crazy as that video with the 405 south. A lot cleaner. But as you can see on the north side, kinda got some more traffic going. Don't mind that GPS guy. He's kind of a dick. He thinks he just knows everything, knows where to go and whatnot. Yeah. So I will see you guys. Bye bye.